To India now, where at least 4 people have died and some 100 others are missing after a mudslide buried an entire village. The Indian Army has launched a search and rescue mission. The incident took place in the northern Uttarakhand state after a sudden heavy downpour caused flash flooding.
This is what's left of the Himalayan village of Darali. A river of mud swept through the centre of the popular tourist destination, inundating homes and sweeping away roads. Officials say the deluge destroyed about a dozen hotels and a local market. Several people were dead, many more are missing. The Indian Army and police say a full-scale search and rescue operation is underway for those still trapped under the debris.
We're closely coordinating with various agencies wherever we feel they can help. All agencies, including the Army, Tibetan Police, the National Disaster Response Force, all the teams are on site, and rescue operations are being carried out in a coordinated manner.
But the search is proving difficult, with teams being hampered by the difficult and remote terrain. India's National Disaster Management Authority says it's requested 3 helicopters from the federal government to assist. The Himalayan region is prone to flash floods and landslides during monsoon season, but sudden, intense downpours over small areas, known as cloudbursts, are becoming increasingly common. With more heavy rains forecast for the next few days, fears are high that the situation could become even more dangerous for the thousands of people living in the mountainous region.
For more on this, I'm now joined by Dr. Raghu Murtugudde. He is an Earth Systems Scientist at the University of Maryland and a faculty at IIT Bombay. Dr. Murtugudde, thanks for being here. We've just seen some dramatic footage of the destruction caused in Uttarakhand. Is it clear yet what caused the flash flood?
It's almost clear. So, by the way, I'm moving to IIT Kanpur now. But anyway, these Himalayan foothill states of India have been having deficit rain since the beginning of the season in June, which has been the normal situation for the last several years. In the last few days, the rainfall flipped to being excess in these states, including Uttarakhand, where we are talking about the heavy rain and the floods. The initial assessment was that it is a cloudburst, but now it's not so clear because we don't have data. Cloudburst needs more than 100 millimeters of rain in centimeter in an hour or so, and we don't have that data now. There is some guess that maybe it's a glacial lake outburst, but nonetheless, the flash flood is obviously something that's carrying a lot of mud, so there's been a lot of erosion along the way. So somehow it has managed to sweep down the river, and the river overflew and swept away so many houses and people, which is really shocking and heartbreaking. But the larger context is that the flow in the last few days changed. The Middle East warming and the Mediterranean warming has been pulling the winds over the Arabian Sea northward, which tends to push much more moisture into the Himalayan foothills and northwest India. And flow from the Bay of Bengal turned around and started feeding moisture from there as well. So the confluence of large-scale moisture suddenly into this region caused heavy rain. So whether it was a cloudburst or glacial outburst, it's still very, very heavy rain in a heavily, populated and regions were deforested and so on. So there are many details yet to come.
Are we seeing more of these flash floods because of climate change, or are there also other factors at play?
Climate change is always a factor because now everything is happening in a warmer world. In this case, climate change is playing a direct role because the warming over the Middle East and the Mediterranean is a direct response to increasing greenhouse gases. That's how dry regions and deserts respond. So it's some of the most rapid warming on land. That has a direct impact on the monsoon circulation over India and even the pre-monsoon circulation and the heat waves we have in March, April, May. So that is contributing, but the real steroid seems to have come from what we would call internal variability or the natural monsoon circulation. So even though we worry a lot about global warming, It is the combination of what generally happens, what we call natural variability or internal variability, that is being amplified in many places. So I would think of these as global drivers coming into the monsoon region and local amplifiers like the mountain managing to produce a lot of rain with the flow that's coming in with heavy moisture and warm air.
Dr. Murtugudde, you've studied the Himalayan region for years. It has undergone a lot of unregulated construction and deforestation. Does that make these disasters worse?
Absolutely. When we have global drivers like global warming bringing in remote effects, we have local amplifiers, and these amplifiers are all our human activities. People are settling down in slopes in a unplanned and sometimes dangerous way. Deforestation is happening. Ecological sensitivity reports are out there, but they don't tend to be that specific. It didn't say Dharali, the village that got wiped out, will be very ecologically sensitive. A couple of years ago, when we had a massive landslide in Kerala, we didn't have very specific information. This is the unfortunate thing, that human activity is all over the place, but these risks are very high in some regions. So it comes down to identifying the hotspots which are getting hit again and again. So if we have had many landslides and flash floods in the last few years over this region in Uttarakhand state, let's say, can we stop all settlements in the whole region? It's very difficult. So we need very hyper-local risk maps, which is what we need to make progress on right now. So definitely there is human activity that's responsible, but how to control it requires much more local information.
Thank you for your insights. That's Earth System Scientist Raghu Murtugudde. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, for more on this, we're joined now by Dr. Aditi Mukherji. She's a human geographer whose research focuses on the impacts of climate change. Welcome to the program. What can you tell us about the forces that brought about that landslide that hit the village of Dharali?
Thank you for having me here. From what we are reading in the newspaper, it was an event of cloudburst, which is an extreme rainfall of more than 100 millimeter in a very small span of time. Though news is also increasingly coming that it could also possibly be a glacial lake outburst flood. It's not confirmed yet. So far, we are only reading mostly around a cloudburst, which is extreme extreme rainfall event over a very small span. Both of these, either it's a glacial lake outburst flood or a cloudburst event, often increasingly have a climate change fingerprint.
I wanted to ask you about that. We've seen a number of such weather phenomenon over the recent years, and it seems to be increasing. How much of a role do you think climate change is playing in this kind of weather phenomenon now?
Absolutely. Increasingly, climate change is playing a very important role in much of the extreme events that we are seeing worldwide, be it extreme temperature, be it extreme precipitation of the kind we saw here yesterday happening in India, but also worldwide. We're hearing of floods pretty much from a lot of the places in the world. And the last IPCC report clearly shows that with every increment in global warming, which is caused by burning of fossil fuel, there is more and more extreme events like floods, like droughts, like heat temperatures. So climate change is increasingly the main driver for these kind of extreme events, and the science is very clear around this. And whether this particular event had a climate change fingerprint would be something we would know pretty soon.
Yeah. So we're looking at, fine, thank you. We're looking at mountainous regions here in this particular example, and a lot of the discussion going on around climate adaptation to climate change focuses on places like this. I'm just wondering, what can places like the one struck in India in this example do to prepare for floods and landslides of this kind?
Yes, mountainous areas are particularly vulnerable because of their rather difficult terrain, something that we were hearing, the difficulty of rescue operations because of the very remote mountain areas. So some of the low-hanging fruit that can be done are a system of early warning systems, so that actually warns the residents for evacuation in a timely manner. The other thing that is very important and requires a bit long-term planning is better land use zoning. We saw from the videos that have been on the media that so much of the houses were constructed so near the river. And those are all the places that should have been ideally a no construction zone. And the third thing that can happen is a lot more of communication effort by the government, by the local district administration, just making the local residents aware of the dangers of making houses in these kind of terrain, and also preparedness when a disaster strikes. And early warning here would play an absolutely crucial role that can evacuate residents in a timely manner, so that we at least prevent the loss of lives, even if we can't prevent loss of infrastructure and property.
Dr. Mukherji, thank you very much for speaking with us. That was Dr. Aditi Mukherji, Principal Scientist at the International Livestock Research Institute and author with the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change.
Thank you.